Welcome to the February 28th meeting of the Rotary Club of South Jacksonville. It's a great day to be a member of Rotary. We ask that you silence your phone and conversations, and if you're attending on Zoom, we welcome you also and ask that you mute yourself. My thanks to past President Bill Langley, Katie Rutterman, and Cole Shad for welcoming our guests today, and I'd like to invite John Pope up to lead our pledge and prayer.
Why don't we begin with a prayer today? Please bow your heads. Although each of us walk separate paths through life, we're grateful those paths have crossed at this time and in this place because of our common purpose. As we enjoy this good food and the warmth of good friendships, remind us that whether we realize it or not, we're actually going about your business of earthly stewardship. Please take all that we do here today, bless it, and multiply it so that the nests will be numerous, the potholes packed, the flyways filled, and the autumn skies blackened with massive waves of abundant new life. Amen. Amen. Our pledge.
Thank you, John, very much. I'll now call upon Les Loggins to introduce our guests, visiting Rotarians.
Okay, we want to welcome all of our guests today, and we'll start with the individual guests. Crystal, do you have someone you'd like to introduce?
I'd like to introduce Jan Richardson. Yes, and Jan is a estate planning and trust lawyer, and she is her husband was really active in Tennessee and the Rotary Club there, where he made her a Paul Harris Fellow. So she knows a lot about Rotary. She has a great interest in this club. So
You're welcome. Okay, Vicki Lynn, you have a guest.
I do. I'm pleased to introduce the club president of the Rotary Club of
First goes first.
and Don Backus, and he works for CSX in technology, but more interestingly, he has launched his own company. It's called Boost Prop, and it is a drone company, so it's real estate, events, and sort of fun stuff. He is a native of Jacksonville. He did all of his schooling here. He is single and
Like long walks on the beach. Well, do we have anyone else? Okay. How about any visiting Rotarians? We have any of those? Okay. All right, I guess we're ready to welcome everyone with our song.
All right, thank you, Les. This is one of those odd weeks. I don't think we have any birthdays, service anniversaries, or other members' celebrations to recognize for this week. But I would ask that each of you keep Danny Wampler in your prayers. In addition to her health issues that are ongoing, her mother's been admitted to St. Vincent's with congestive heart failure. So give a thought out to her. As always, be sure to review the DAC-DB calendar regularly to learn about our upcoming meetings, speakers, and social events. And with that, well, that's not gonna work. I'll have this down soon. That's the call for Lisa Marie Winslow.
If you don't know what that call is, that is for Rotary South Jax does Churchill Downs. So we are doing a Derby fundraiser May 6th at the riverfront patio of the Bowl School. And so we're very, very excited. Planning is well underway for that event. Tickets will go on sale soon, but I want to let the members know that two things that will be available to the membership first this year that we weren't able to do last year is we will have some sponsorship packages available, and those will be coming out soon. And we will also be running an offer where if you want to buy more than your 2 required tickets, any additional tickets that you sell, want to invite others to, will only be $150 until April 1st. And so the tickets are $200, but until April 1st, once the tickets become available, if you want a third or family members or what have you and get more than the 2 tickets, they will only be at $150. So we're very excited for our fun, our derby, gambling games, some poker, a lot of stuff will be music, dancing, all of that. So for those of you who joined last year, you remember how much fun we had, and we plan on doing it again this year. So, all right, without further ado.
And Lisa, please.
Yes, sir.
An update on couples within the club in terms of.
Yes, so at the board meeting last week, we decided to make an exception. We have uniquely a couple of couples in our club. And so instead of them having to buy 4 tickets, we have made the exception. The board has agreed to make an exception that they still only have to buy 2 tickets. Of course, if they want to contribute more, yes, Barry, I know, you're like, yes, thank you for pointing that out, reminding me. And then speaking of charity, and what probably the most important thing to let everybody know is this year, we are raising money for the North Florida School for Special Education. So very excited about being able to assist them. For those of you who are here, when we had the executive director come speak, just an amazing presentation. What they do is just great. They're micro businesses. So we're very, very excited about partnering with them, not only for this event, but also for some volunteering activities as well in the future. So any other questions, comments, anything I forgot? Speaking of charity, as you know, we are raising money for charity for our club with our raffle. And this week's raffle was a 2-fer. It is Bluetooth headsets. You get 2. So the winning ticket will be the recipient of both of these Bluetooth headsets. And we raised over $100. So thank you to everybody's generosity. Allows us to get it. Dr. Greene, if you would be so kind. All right. The winning ticket is. All right. 388 4 2 1 7. Congratulations. Thank you. Oh, all right. Not yet. Very generous. All right, we ready? All right. Dr. Greene, would you do me the honors again, if you don't mind? Or maybe some, thank you, man. All right. Second winning ticket is 388 4 2 2 0.
Thank you, Lisa Marie, and thank you for heading up the committee for the fundraiser, and I'll have the music set up better next time. And also, the board was happy to pass, I think, what was called the Barry Bernie rule.
Yeah.
Tickets, and I'm sure they're happy to do that. Also, update on the use of Zoom for our meetings. After polling the club members, the board has approved the termination of the regular use of Zoom for our meetings beginning March, which is tomorrow. We will still retain that capacity to have Zoom meetings for particular circumstances. We do have at least one speaker who we anticipate needing to appear by Zoom. So we still have a capacity, but it's sure, hopefully this will bring more people back to our meetings on a regular basis. Many thanks go out to past President Bill Langley and others for development of the system. It's worked well during COVID and got us through and kept us together. And also Ed Vaughn and Blade of setting things up and getting things cranked up. We will, of course, continue to have the audio visual system since so many of our speakers do bring PowerPoints with them. All right, this time I'd like to recognize Bill Traer for another full appearance. Welcome.
Thank you, my many thanks. Before I start, I'm going to pick a random Casey to ask a question. Casey, just give me your opinion as to our motto, which is service above self, one prophet mostly serves best. What does that mean to you as a longtime Rotarian?
That means to me that the more you do to help people out who need help, the better off this person you are.
Okay, so you it's like a benefit to the person that's going out and doing the good work then. Yeah. Okay.
Both ends, really.
We're going to get into that in this one. This was starting in 1911. This is the first national newsletter. Actually, Paul Harris had to sneak it into the budget. They didn't realize he was going to do this, but he managed to get it started, and he sent it out to every club and Rotary in the organization. He wrote an article, Rational Rotarianism, sharing his beliefs about what a club should be and could do. It was in his 5,000 plus word article. Let's talk to Barry some. The Rotary mark stating that it should be, quote, a mark of quality. And he stated that, quote, the way for a person or a club to be well thought of in its community is to do something for the community. Pretty logical. He further stated that, quote, life in Rotary should consist of a rational mixture of business and civic activities and good fellowship. He urged tolerance of each club, no matter which path they followed, whether it was business exchange, civic service, or fellowship. And as you know from all my readings, this was a constant debate with these guys. And if that club was confronted by condemnation for whatever they chose, be willing to change. His personal beliefs were that those clubs that wanted a purely business exchange philosophy would eventually have some public pressure to engage in more civic service, and he was right. In August of 1911, Rotarians began to gather for the Second National Convention in Portland, Oregon. At this time, Paul Harris and Arthur Sheldon had been fast friends for a number of years. Understanding Paul's dilemma over the issue of business exchange versus civic service, he suggested business success comes from the service rendered. Carrying this concept further, service creates customers. The better the service, the more customers are made and thus more profits. When one serves customers well, because it is the profitable thing to do, the next step in the process is to serve everyone well because it's the right thing to do. Arthur Sheldon was invited to give a speech on this subject. The early motto of the club was geared toward the premise, a long motto. Acquaintance begets friendship, friendship begets confidence, confidence begets business, business begets profits, Moses begat, never mind. This was called the golden rule of business. At the convention, Sheldon's words were turned into "he profits most who serves best," which met with applause and cheers. The phrase was immediately made the unofficial motto of the organization. A later addition to this phrase was due to the Minneapolis Club, which had been using the phrase "service, not self" since they were formed. Minneapolis Rotarians have been giving this slogan in advance to advance social contacts and fellowship, along with generating good public relations through service to the community. In recruiting new Rotarians, they told them that Rotarians put service before themselves. When Paul heard the Minneapolis Club's motto, he invited a member of the club, Benjamin Franklin Collins, to address the convention. The convention went wild, and the "service, not self" motto was adopted, which over time morphed into more familiar "service above self." So this was really initially a motto that had to do with a business doing service, as much service as they possibly can, which begets the loyalty of the customers, which profits was all about the profit for the company. But all of us, like Casey, we thought of it more as the service that we did this service and it profited us. It profited you as a human being to go out and do this service. And that's what it's kind of morphed into, as I pointed out there. Rotary changed forever at the second convention. Instead of the early club purpose, which was strict promotion of self-interest, Rotary was now to be a certificate of business character based on the expression of goodwill toward others. Rotary was striving towards a higher goal. It is interesting that the mother club in Chicago had difficulty accepting the new policies toward business exchange, which had worked so well. At the Portland Convention, the name National Association of Rotary Clubs was changed to the International Association, since a club had already been formed in Winnipeg in November 1910, which they didn't even know about. This fired up Paul, who wanted to make London his next target. He was in for some real surprise. Next week, we'll be spreading Rotary to England, Scotland, and Ireland.
All right.
I always had kind of a short version. Altruism has its own rewards. Think about it. All right. At this time, I'd like to recognize Martha Barrett to introduce our speaker.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, it is such an honor and pleasure for me to introduce Superintendent Diana Greene. You know, Duval County, as you know, there are 67 counties in Florida and 67 school districts, but very unusual. You know, in most states, every mile you're in a different school district. Not in Florida. We're the 6th largest school district in the state, Duval County, with over 120,000 children. So Superintendent Greene has a job, a real job. She arrived here in 2018, and I can't believe you've been here this long. Really, it just seems like yesterday that you arrived. And I'll just give you a few things. I know you probably read her bio, but she started out here in Jacksonville at an elementary school, Mamie Agnes Jones in Baldwin. And prior to that, she served as superintendent and deputy superintendent of instructions in Manatee County. She's been a 33-year career as an educator. She spent time as a teacher, assistant principal, and principal. Also, of course, school grades have gone up since she's been here. Safety is definitely better. Financially, it is wonderful. And on a personal note, Dr. Greene is the daughter of a father who served in the Air Force, and she grew up living in locations all over the United States and abroad. And she's married to James Greene, an independent financial advisor and a retired Navy, and they have 2 sons, Alden and Joshua. Now, on a personal note, I served 8.5 years in the mayor's office, as most of you know, with Mayor Godbold. And Mayor Godbold would often say to me, "Marty, the worst job in the world is that superintendent's job. My job is easier than that." And he always admired the superintendents as far as the really smart people they had to be. And some weren't as smart as others, but Dr. Greene is definitely right up there as the best. I think that Financially, she's done a great job. And I would say, you know, I also served 11 years on the school board. So I've seen the city and I've seen the Duval County School Board. And I loved being on the school board. And I know how difficult that job is, but I really know how difficult the superintendency job is. I think she's elegant, smart, decisive, and her heart is in the right place all the time. We were talking a little bit about superintendent with some folks that I had lunch with today, that, you know, you've really stayed out of the newspaper. And isn't that a wonderful thing? It's just great. It means things are going well. But anyway, we're very fortunate to have her here in our district, and I'd like to introduce to you Superintendent Diana Greene.
Good afternoon. The superintendent's job really is a phenomenon that most people do not get the opportunity to see inside that life. And I tell everyone, if I knew what this job entailed, no one would become a superintendent of any school district of any size. It doesn't matter whether you're a large urban school district like Duval or a small school district. The job is never ending. It's a 24/7-day-a-week job. And it is one that I think you have to be called to do. And the packages of issues that we deal with come to really one simple resolution in my mind: what is best for children? And that is why I still do this job, is trying to do what is best for children. Today, I do have a presentation, but I'm going to quickly go through that presentation because I think there's so many questions people want to ask me about so many things happening, not only in Duval, but in our state. Duval County Public Schools is a diamond in the rough. I think many people do not know how great of a school district that you have. And it isn't about me. It is really about the 13,000 employees who come each and every day to try to give our students a high quality education. We are the second largest employer in Duval. The Navy is the only entity larger than us. We also, one thing that isn't up there on a slide is that most people do not know our business. If the apocalypse was to happen and the world kind of went crazy, we could live an entire 30 days on our own without any support from anyone else. We have our own transportation. We have our own food service. We minus utilities, we take care of everything in our facilities. And so as a $2.6 billion organization, it is vital that the community can turn to its school district in times of peril. And that's why we serve as hurricane shelters, because we can run that operation from just school district employees and partners to support our community. But there are 4 things that we are really focused on as a school district, and they're listed up here. Workforce readiness and career technical programs has been huge, not only in Duval, but in the state of Florida. And we are so proud that we have made extreme gains in both of those. So much so that we partner with Southjax-USA with programs to ensure that if our students aren't going to college, that they actually have access into the world of work. We just 2 weeks ago are moving forward with projects for students that if they have a 2.0, they have all their things in place for graduation, yet they are not quite at that college level, that we are getting them in front of corporations in Duval, so that when they graduate, they can enter into the world of work. But by the way, CSX is looking for our students. As a matter of fact, I was hoping to have that meeting really soon, that they're trying to hire students to run trains and conductors. That's what they have. They have a shortage. And so we are working with our local community, our chamber, other corporations to ensure that all students have a pathway, whether it is post-secondary, into the world of work, or into the military. One of our strongest partners is with the Navy, and our working with them, and students not entering into the Navy, but being civil servant positions that work with the Navy. So we are very proud of those two areas that we have really made momentum. We also want to share some points of pride about Duval. We were actually the first school district in the state of Florida to implement free telehealth care for every single student in our district. When COVID hit, we saw that many of our students needed access to whether it was mental health care or physical health care. And we took the initiative to partner with an organization called Hazel Health. And so for the last year and this year, our students have access to either physical health care at school, or if they their families need mental health care, they can access it from home. So parents have to opt in to get this support, but a student could come to school with a headache and they could go to the clinic, and the clinic can call the parent and get the doctor on the phone, I say phone, but really it's like Zoom. And the doctor can talk to the parent and the child can receive medical care right there in the clinic, and then be able to go back to class if needed, or be able to be seen by a doctor in person by that afternoon. For the first time, also 30 of our schools have been designated of schools of excellence. When you receive the state designation of School of Excellence, it means that you have been in the top quartile of the state performance for the last 3 years. So 30 of our schools have received that designation. For the first time, we also hosted the International STEM Conference in Duval with our schools. Never happened before. We have now developed a district-wide STEM lab where all of our students have access to seeing science, technology, engineering, and math concepts being made available for them. This next point, 100% of our schools that were rated either a D or F in 2018-19 have gone up to a C or higher. We worked extremely hard to continue to focus on those schools that are struggling, and those schools are located in our most vulnerable neighborhoods. And so we have spent an intense amount of time, resources to support those schools. Even in the midst of a pandemic, 78% of our schools district-wide went up prior to 2018-19, which was pre-pandemic. And last, we are on track to complete our 3-year safety and security project through the referendum that you also graciously approved a couple of years. It was to be completed by 2024. We are now in our last 74 projects, and by 2024, we will have completed that task of ensuring that we've done more for safety and security for all of our facilities. Last year, we went up to 93% of our schools rated A, B, or C. Again, 100% of the schools that were in 18-19 are D, or we have no F schools. But we have reduced now down to 10. We only have 10 schools in our district that has a school grade of D. Again, continuing to
move that needle forward so that we are going to get that A-rated designation here sooner than later. Graduation. We are experiencing the highest graduation rates ever in Duval County at this time. Even after the pandemic waivers were taken away, and the last 2 years, students actually got a waiver to graduate if they didn't meet graduation requirements. Last year was the first year that that was no longer available, and still we had an 85.6 graduation rate. Again, closing the gap between our African American, Hispanic, and Caucasian students continues to be our #1 point of pride, that we are getting more and more of our students, not only just across the stage, but they're graduating with certifications. They're graduating with AA degrees, AS degrees. They're graduating with IB diplomas and ACE diplomas. They're ready to move on to the next level. I'm sorry, I'm nodding my head for him. That's how I'm telling him to turn the next slide. So, please don't look like I've got a tick or some kind of issue. But I'm nodding to say turn to the next slide. This past year, so we graduated almost 7,000 students with scholarship dollars over $153 million. So that's why I said we're not just graduating students. We're graduating students who are ready to go to the next level. You can see the numbers of how many students received ACE diplomas, 299. CTE, that is Career Technical Education Certification. We have almost 5,000 students graduating with certifications. IB diplomas, those equate to already 2 years of college completed, 592 students. AP, those are college credits. We have over 3,000 students who graduated with AP credits, and dual enrollment. Over almost 5,000 students who are either graduating with an AA degree and a high school diploma, or their first year of college already completed and a high school diploma. So again, we are not just doing the basics of getting students across the stage. We are making sure students have a pathway to whatever they want their future to be. One of the things that groups like the Rotary shared with us was that, yes, we know that you're graduating students, but they still are not really ready for the workplace. And so part of our strategic plan was to launch something called Duval Ready. This is a soft skills certification. It's not enough that, yes, I have the skills. When they don't show up to work on time, you can't get productivity out of them. Or even if they do show up to work on time and if they don't know how to do conflict resolution, they don't become a really good employee. And so part of our certification for our high school students, we just launched it this year, is called Duval Ready. Students who complete this certification, and it is a 5-year certification. It actually starts in 8th grade. With our partnership with Junior Achievement, with a program called Inspired. Students go through a series of scenarios of learning how to have these skills, such as showing up on time, how to communicate, how to articulate when you are having difficulty without yelling at someone or using 4-letter words. How do you work as a team? How do you work with individuals that, you may not agree with them? And how do you solve problems? And so they go through these scenarios over 4 years, start 5 years, 8th grade, and then 4 years, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And then 12th grade, they have what we call a capstone project. Their project might be to go out and literally locate a job, interview for that job, and be productive on that job for 6 months. And their teachers actually track them. And we have a system that supports them. And so they earn badges. If you think about Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, if you remember, you
get the badges. So this is how they earn this certification as they get these badges each year. And when they meet the capstone requirement, they will graduate with a certification in called Duval Ready. And we are working with our corporations to recognize that certification, that not only do they have the skills, but now they also have these soft skills that will help them be better employees. I talked about career technical. It's just really important, as you can see, how much we've grown in this past year. We now have over 21,000 students participating in career technical ed programs. Our academies have grown. We have 52 career academies now spread across 19 high schools. Our academies are rated, and as you can see, we are wanting all of our academies to get to what we call a master's level. We just started that rating system last year, and so we know we have more work to do, but one of the things that we are most proud of is the percent of our students that are passing industry certifications. When they pass industry certifications, they are passing the same certification an adult would be passing if they were taking it from a state college. And so our students are competing with adults for these same certifications. And as you can see, over the years in 2014-15, less than half of our students were able to pass those certifications. And today we're at 70%. And it's because we are focused on ensuring that our students are prepared to take these same industry certifications. So cybersecurity, anybody, an adult, want to go through that whole program at FSCJ, they have to take a certification at the end. Our students are taking that same certification from high school. And as you can see, it's one of our highest pass rates. They are passing at 90 to 100% for cybersecurity. Moving on to our half-cent sales tax. We are getting ready to open up Rutledge Pearson. That is the first elementary school that was a rebuild. That was months ago. It is slated to open August 2023. So it is, if you drive by there, you now see a huge, beautiful building. They're starting to put in the walls, and we expect to open that school up in August. Fort Caroline Middle School Performing Arts Center, it will open November. Hopefully they will have their first performance in the month of November of this school year. So we are very excited. We have at least 12 projects that will now start. And just a few of them. We will have Highlands Elementary. These are actual renditions of what those schools will look like. Highlands is starting next month. The new 6H Chafee Trail, that has already started. That will be opening up in 2024. And the first high school, Jean Ribaud High School, new construction. This is the actual rendering of what that school will look like. It will start next month. Actually, I have a meeting tonight with that community because we have to literally move the students off that campus because starting June, they will demo the entire school. So the high school will be moving to the middle school. The middle school will be moving to A. Philip Randolph, and the elementary will stay in its current location. But that is a 3-year project, and that high school will open up August 2025. We are celebrating our 2nd year of the Citizens Oversight Committee. So far, we have gotten nothing but rave reviews, and there's really only one reason why we're getting these rave reviews, is because we have a dashboard that is open to the public.
Wasn't big.
That,
Headache over here.
That everyone in our community, we encourage them to go. So there's the website, duvalschools.org/halfpenny. You can see every single project by school board member, every single project by how much funding is related to it. Where are the projects? So this will be available for our community as it's for 15 years so that you know where your taxpayer dollars are going and how they are being spent and what projects are in process or they're not slated to start until 2025, but we are very proud of this dashboard and now the many districts around the state are asking how can they replicate this because this is what's keeping our community in the know. So that's really the presentation about all the great things that are happening in Duval, but we know that a lot is going on in our state. I just spoke to my PTA this morning and said, I'm here to talk about my favorite topic, library books, which is not my favorite topic, but we know that a lot is going on as it relates to library books, sex ed curriculum, and empowerment scholarships. These are the three big things that are happening in education. And really briefly, our library books are required by law to be vetted by a certified media specialist. Not many people know that Duval County really hasn't had media specialists for years. We only have media specialists in elementary, and it's only a part-time media specialist. So it's one media specialist for 2 schools, unless it's a really large elementary school, then we hire a full-time media specialist. And we had to vet, or we still are vetting, we have over 1.6 million titles in our school district. And the vast majority of those titles are in elementary schools and in classroom libraries. The law requires that parents be able to search and see all of your library books, whether they're in the media center or in a classroom at the elementary level. The district has the ability to search by media center. We never had the ability to search by classroom. And that is why it became very important that our classroom libraries become stagnant, meaning nothing in and nothing out, so that our media specialists could vet those books. And that is the big hoopla that is going on as it relates to library books. But today, or yesterday, our classroom libraries are now open because we have now developed a system to vet and scan all of our classroom libraries onto a searchable website, which every school has to have their own searchable website so that parents can peruse, scan, and see the available books that are being used in the media center as well as in their child's classroom library. And so we will continue that process. I know people seem to think that this is something that will just be done in a matter of weeks. This will literally take it will be an every year event that we have to go through because people like to donate books to schools and we don't like to say no. So I'm highly encouraging them to now, you need to be a little more prudent on what you accept as a donation because those donations now must be tracked. Where in the past, you could bring a whole box of books and we just took it and shared with classrooms at will. We can no longer do that. They all have to be vetted by a certified media specialist. So our goal was to ensure, one, that we protected our media specialists because there is something in law that says if there is anything related to pornography, that it is a felony. That's a simple issue, making sure we don't have pornography in any of the books that are in our media centers. But there was the second part of the law that says anything that could be construed as indoctrination.
That was a lot more challenging and a lot more difficult to just say, well, this book meets that guideline. And that is where much of the debate was coming, was the review of books as it related to racism, discrimination. Were any of those books considered to be inappropriate? And so, you know, I shared with the board books like I Am Jackie Robinson. And I read pieces of the book and said, this is the difficult decision they have to make. We believe this book is a valuable book and should be in our media center. But it does talk a lot about racism, and it shows pictures of where signs says for whites only, and we had to make sure, is it in the right grade level? Is it in the right genre for students, so that our teachers are not being put in a situation where someone could question whether they are violating law. And at the same time, making sure that we have books that represent the diversity of our student body and that they have access to those books. So that's my fun topic about. Secondly, sex education. It is required to be taught in the state of Florida, sex ed. We are required to use an abstinence-based program, which we do. The issue is that we have individuals who just believe we should not be talking about sex. And unfortunately, we know that our students are engaged in activities that hinge around that topic. And we have a requirement to teach about AIDS, HIV, STDs, and those things generally don't happen unless other things are happening. So it became a very challenging situation. How do we teach this? And people feel like we're not trying to groom students into lifestyles that people may not agree with. And so that's been a big issue for the school district. And then the last that's going to impact the entire community, and one that people don't want to talk about, is the empowerment scholarships. The empowerment scholarships now, if currently families have to meet a financial threshold to be able to receive taxpayer dollars to go to a private school. There is legislation out there that they're going to remove that threshold, and that anyone, even if you know, your income is $1 million, you can access taxpayer dollars to now pay for your child to go to private school, which your child probably is already in private school. We see that that is going to have a massive impact on public schools because there's only one pot of money, and eventually the pot is going to have to get smaller and smaller to allow more people to take advantage of the empowerment scholarship, which means that's going to be cutting dollars that should be going to public schools. That is what those tax dollars are supposed to be for public education. It is a very complex topic. It is very hard to try to explain it in 5 to 10 minutes, but it is one that is going to really start to play a role in especially large school districts such as Duval. Today, we have about 11,000 students that take advantage of the empowerment scholarship. But when you look at that 11,000, less than 1,000 ever attended a Duval County Public Schools. So those dollars are just flowing through the district, out the district, yet those students really never attended a Duval County Public School. And many of them are either homeschooled or they were always in private school, but because they meet that threshold currently, they can request. And right now it's about $8,000 per student. It really depends on a student's schedule. And the interesting thing is the district has the requirement to schedule these students who do not attend a school district. So we have a lot of the work to do to ensure that these families are able to take advantage of the empowerment scholarship, yet we do not get any funding to make that happen. Who is 129? No, we. Stay.
Yes.
I'm a proud Loretto Elementary graduate, so thank you for being here. Appreciate it. You used the term vulnerable neighborhoods earlier when you were talking about D and F schools. There are more than 15 Rotary and Rotaract clubs in Duval County alone. We're spread across a number of different neighborhoods, and we like to get out there and help. So can you describe what you mean by vulnerable neighborhoods, and maybe there's something Rotarians can connect with, as problems we can help?
So we're talking about the zip codes of 32209, 32206, 32208.
My client.
I'm not sure, there's some Arlington zip code, the northwest side of our community. Those are what we consider our most vulnerable neighborhoods, where they are all schools of poverty, they're all Title I, and 100% of the students are on free and reduced lunch. Yes, so, yes, sir.
Are you really, did they change the calculation for graduation? Are you really at 85%?
Yes, sir, we are really.
Because it was, I mean, I don't follow it religiously, but it wasn't that long ago that Duval County was 55% graduation.
10 years ago, it was in the 50s.
Yeah. Holy cow.
That is real.
That's
And
unbelievable.
they've changed it to have higher standards, not lower. So yes, it has changed, but the standards have gone up.
Very good.
Steeper. Yes,
Dr.
I promise.
Okay. Go ahead.
In the news, they've been talking about teacher shortages, and recently heard Clay County Superintendent talk to us about, not this club, but someone I was attending, about what they're doing regarding teachers, with the growth in the new schools that you're building. Obviously, you have to fill those schools, and you're trying to get the best teachers. What does Duval County have as a carrot that's sitting out there to attract teachers?
Well, Duval, we are the most interesting urban school district because we're the only one who is surrounded by non-urban school districts. All our urban school districts in Florida are pretty much going further south. So we have the unfortunate battle of fighting against all these bedroom communities. And so that is why we went for the 1 mil to raise the teacher salary, and that will be coming into play this upcoming school year. Currently, we have about 400 vacancies in our district wide, and we are doing signing bonuses, raising the teacher pay, and believe it or not, we actually have the highest teacher pay in the surrounding districts, but we also have the most challenges. So I have to not only pay more than Clay County, I have to exceedingly pay more than Clay County. So $1,000 more than Clay County by the average is not going to make them come to Duval. We have to be like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 more than a Clay or a St. John's or a Baker or a Nassau, because they're in bedroom communities. We have a very diverse and large school districts, and we have a number of issues. And so we believe that that millage was part of us being able to compete better with our surrounding districts. And they're also suffering from teacher shortages. So basically, we're all fighting with each other and trying to take each other's teachers. The second thing we've done is that we have 2 contracts where we actually hire teachers from other places that make it a commitment to come to Duval for a certain period of time and work in Duval. And so that has also kept us from not being larger of a shortage than where we are today.
Commend you for the progress you've overseen in our school system here. I also have to commend you on how adroitly you address difficult issues facing you. And all I can say is, when you come home from a school board meeting and really need to relax, find something to fill this cool. All right. A reminder, please join us next week when our speaker will be Gregory Jones, president of J-Tech Institute. And I hope we'll have our own Danny Wamper laying in wait to ask him some of the tough questions. All right, as we enter meeting, please join me, stand and join me in our four-way test for the things we think, say, or do. First, is it second? Is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it do good, well, and better practice? Fourth, will it be better for all concerned?